Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Meiraj Atif, migration wala, and I am a level 1 student at Rehan School, Islamabad campus. So we come back in the new Forner interview with the Jennifer. So welcome to our studio, Jennifer. So first of all, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Jennifer Stoudt. I am a medical massage therapist. I'm a birth doula, which is a three-pronged job. It is emotional support, it is physical support, and it is educational support, information, passing along information so that people can have an educated consent for their choices because they understand what their choices are. I'm also an author. I've written a children's book as well as a book that I was part of that gave me the wonderful title of Guinness World Record Holder. And I'm a speaker and teacher, and I love communicating to other people and just connecting with them and as a person and seeing who they are, and hopefully they can see who I am. And positive encouragement is something that I do a lot of. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm also a wife and a mother of 5 and a stepmom to 1. So it's a lot of busyness at my house.
Okay, great. So my first question is, Jennifer, what inspired you to pursue your current career?
Say that one more time. What would you repeat that, please?
Yes, my question is, what inspired you to pursue your current career?
Yeah, well, what inspired me originally was my mom. I was about 15, 14, 15, and she would ask me to rub her feet because she was a school bus driver and her feet just ached all the time. Her shoulders hurt, her back hurt, everything hurt. And I had the ability to work on her toes and help pop her toes. Her chiropractor was struggling to be able to pop her toes ever. And the fact that I was able to, my mom encouraged me that I have a talent for touch, and just being able to feel the body and feel what it's communicating to me, even without having had education at that point. And then I met my husband several years later, and we were talking about how we wanted our life to look and what we wanted our important balance to look like. And I told him that I did not want to work 40 hours a week and be a mom. 3 weeks later, I started massage school. So I only work 3 days a week as a massage therapist. I only take 2 births per month. And that allows me to have the balance where my family is my priority. They are my first job, period. Anything else I do is a passion beyond my family, but my family is my priority. And so I make sure that my balance of time shows that.
Okay, very great answer. So my next question is, Jennifer, what motivates you every day?
What motivates me every day? That's a hard question. I think that what motivates me is I know what pain feels like. I know what suffering feels like. I know what feeling trapped in your body and where your body and mind don't feel connected. I went through a lot of things as a young child where I went through a lot of therapy to help me process through what I was going through. And my family was incredibly wonderful in that. So I think for me, my motivation is connection. I want to connect with people. Not everyone gets the opportunity to be in a room with someone for an hour or an hour and a half and have one-on-one connection, to be present for someone in their time of need, whether that's in a massage room or whether that's a mom in labor or whether that's my personal life and just a friend coming to me needing a shoulder to lean on or a shoulder to cry on or just to process through what's going on in their life. My motivation is to be present with people well so that they don't feel isolated and alone, because that's where a lot of problems for people come in. We all have hurts, we all have habits, and we all have hangups. And so I want to just be present with people in the midst of there so that they have a sense of not being alone. And that can be a really, really impactful and powerful experience, and people remember how you made them feel. They don't remember what you do. So I want people to remember my presence as a calm, peaceful presence that was willing to just sit with them in whatever they're going through. That's my passion. I want people to hopefully see the love of Christ in my life, and that from the abundance of love that I feel from God, that I can overflow that onto other people. And yeah, that's my goal. I want people to feel the love of Christ through how I treat them, and hopefully I can represent the love of God well.
Okay, Jennifer, that was great. Your goal and great motivation. So my next question is, what inspired you to become an educator?
Well, that was kind of on accident. I've done a lot of stuff with my clients over the years. I've been a massage therapist for 16 years. And in that time, people ask a lot of questions. Well, how can I help this in my day-to-day life? Well, what happens when I feel this again, and what do I do? So education started to be a little tip here, a little tip there, a stretch here, a motion there, things like that that you can do to open up your body and feel better. And so in doing that, I just added more and more to that language of education. And 2 years ago, I want to say, I had a massage that I received. And it just so happened that after my massage, they had a couple of minutes. And so I just, you want me to show you a couple of tricks? I showed them like 5 minutes, maybe, of a couple of different variations of things. And her mind was blown. She was her response was, "And why aren't you teaching?" She sounded so offended that she couldn't take a class from me yet, that I was like, okay, all right, I will get on that. And then I took the class that I needed to become a massage instructor. I've developed probably 10 or 15 different continuing education classes that as soon as I get my facility that we're remodeling up and running, I'll be able to start teaching those classes. So I kind of fell into teaching. It wasn't something that I thought I was going to do. I didn't know that was going to become my path. But I've learned that the way that I picture things in my own head when I try to explain it to somebody else, it's a word picture that they understand in a way that they hadn't before. And it seems to be impactful to my clients. And so I'm just kind of all in it now. And that has led me to, the authorship and things like that, and just kind of going outside of my comfort zone and doing things that I didn't know I was going to do. That I've always wanted to write a book, but I didn't know it was going to be a children's book. And I didn't know I was going to have more ideas just flowing out of me for other books. So I didn't mean to become a teacher. It just kind of happened, where I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be able to be in a position like that, where somehow my skills and my knowledge are desired by other people in such a way that if I don't teach, it feels selfish.
Okay, so my next question is, how can education transform lives?
Well, I very strongly believe that knowledge is a tool for prevention. That's one of the first pages in one of my childbirth education books. And when I read that, it just stuck. It implanted in my heart. Knowledge is a tool for prevention. Knowledge isn't what makes you wise. Okay. Knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. And I want to be wise because I have knowledge, not let that knowledge make me think I'm wise. I hope that difference makes sense. Wisdom is what you do with knowledge. And so if you have knowledge, you have the tools to make better choices. Doesn't mean you're going to pick up the tool. There's a lot of people who know things but don't do it. So it's a matter of connecting the knowledge to the action, which then makes it wisdom, because then it's knowledge in motion. And then you move forward from there. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so Jennifer, what advice would you give to students who want to succeed academically?
Students that want to succeed, it doesn't matter what discipline you want to go into. Find a person whose personal and professional life you want your future life to look like, and then try to be as close to that person as possible. Sometimes I visualize it like Scrooge McDuck, if you ever watched the old cartoons where he's, got all these money bags and things and he's full of money, but it's the proximity to people who have the thing that you want that they can drop things and say things and, just trickle down their information, their wisdom. And they don't even know that that's what they're doing because it's so ingrained in who they are that they'll just say something and then someone else is super impacted by it just because they were able to be in proximity. So I think pick your mentors wisely. Look for people who have consistency and integrity in their character. If they're not a good person to their family, why would you want your business life to look like them? Or if they are not very kind to their employees, but they're only good to the CEO or the people who have the right title after their name, is that the integrity of the type of person you want your life to look like? And if not, then don't choose them as your mentor. I think that we need to pick our mentors very wisely and make sure that they are congruent in all aspects of their life so that there's not some blatant hypocrisy that if you were to find out after years and years of, looking up to this mentor, and then all of a sudden they have this personal failure or business failure, it won't change the way you view them because they've been authentic with themselves from day one. So I think that that's probably one of the most important things that you can do. I tell people, don't take advice from people you don't want your life to look like. And I think that that directly plays into a mentor. If you don't want your life to look like them, then don't take their advice because they're going to give you advice based on what their life looks like.
Okay, Jennifer. So my next question is, how a 16-year-old build consistency and discipline in our life?
Yeah, I think having really small goals that you can't, well, it doesn't have to be a small goal. Let me rephrase. Really small steps towards goals that you can build off of. So think small, one pattern, one thing that you can do every day for several weeks. And when you have like 80%, I do this at least 80% of the time, then you can maybe add on something else to the goal, maybe something else to the routine. If you have a problem with not thinking enough of yourself, a lot of people have issues with self-worth. So maybe the first step is putting a little note on your mirror in the morning for you to look at and say, I have value, and say it out loud while you're looking at yourself. So you're working one thing every day towards the step of better self-value. Or if you're the opposite, let's say you have a pride issue and you think too much of yourself and you put others down because they don't have the right initials after their name. Similarly, you could put something on your window or door that says, consider others more important than yourself. Find ways to recognize what needs to be done and then break down the goal into baby steps that, okay, once I've successfully adapted this baby step, then I can add on this baby step. Or this baby step is pretty secure. Let's add on a separate connected step to build off of. Baby steps are still momentum, and you don't have to be the fastest or the best. Honestly, there's so much learning that happens in failure that failure should be looked at as an opportunity to learn and grow, and we should be more encouraging of that failure because at least it means you're trying. If you're not failing, it means you're not doing anything. You're not trying things. So that would be my suggestion. Start with small baby steps that you can build on, but you have to identify what is the thing I'm working towards. It can't just be, oh, I want to be an author. Okay, what is it about being an author? I want to write something that impacts others the way that others have impacted me. Okay, well, then start to write down your story. Start to write down each of the moments in your life that started to impact you. So just start small and give yourself grace that it's not all going to be a perfect linear line, like success is a wavy line. And sometimes there's curls. Sometimes the failure leads you to bankruptcy and you lose a business, but you learn so much and then you build it back up again. Like there's so many very wealthy people who have had that cycle where they're wealthy and then they lose it all. And then they're wealthy because they have the tools to create the wealth already in them and they're not afraid to fail.
Okay, great answer. So my next question is, which of your books has had the greatest impacts and why?
Well, I have two books, and one of them is a children's book, and then the other one is a compilation of 142 authors who all came together in one room in Philadelphia back in May, and we all signed the book simultaneously. And because we did that and all of the things were in order, we are all Guinness World Record holders. It is an international bestseller, Legacy in Ink. I'll show it to you just because, why not? And it's phenomenal. It is influential voices of people all over the country, all over the world. There's a lot of people from different countries who've participated in the book. And that has been extremely impactful for me, not only because I'm now a Guinness World Record holder, but because of the doors that opened. Those 142 people I was in a room with, it was the first time in my whole life that I felt like I was in a room with that many people. And this is where I belong. This is the room I was meant to be in. These are my people. That was what I felt. And coming from, a childhood where it always felt like my family was emotionally targeted, like we were intentionally picked on just because of our last name, where people didn't like us because my brother had his own issues. My sister had her own issues. And because I was the youngest, I felt like I kind of got the brunt of whatever somebody didn't like about my siblings or my parents, whatever that was, we just all felt that one another. And so it was really, really cool to be in that room because most of my life, if not all of my life, I felt like I didn't belong. Like these are not bad people, but they're not people who understand me, who appreciate me necessarily, especially in my youth. I didn't feel like they did. And it was a wonderful opportunity to just be around so many like-minded people who have the same intention with their businesses that I have with mine, even though they look nothing alike. Somebody might have, 9 podcasts that are all different, and he, does a lot of different things. Our businesses don't look anything alike, but our mission is the same. And that was a really, really wonderful experience. So for me, that was probably one of the coolest experiences I've had because of the feeling I had in that room. And then how that's carried on since then, people I've stayed in connection with, opportunities that I've had since then, future possibilities of teaching and speaking and books and things like that. So it's really a quite beautiful thing that I was able to do that. My oldest brother had invited me to participate in it, and so I got to do this with my brother. And at first that was the highlight for me. That was what I was most excited for, was to get to see my brother because he lives on the other side of the country from me. And so I hadn't seen him in 2 years, and walking away from that experience, it was still the highlight was to see my brother, but there was so much other wonderful, wonderful stuff. For me, at least at this point, that's been the most impactful experience from my authorship.
Okay. So, Jennifer, if you had the opportunity to change one thing in the world, and what would it be and why?
Hmm. What would it be and why? If I could change one thing in the world, oh, that is such a hard question because there's so many. I think that there's a verse in the Bible that says, "Consider others more important than yourselves," and I think that that is extremely powerful. Not because others are worth more than we are; we're all of equal value and worth. But when we consider others more important than ourselves, it is a servant leadership. It is a servant's heart. And I think we should all strive to be more servant like. I think that servant leadership is almost a forgotten art, and we need to get back to that. The CEO is not more important than the janitor, and they do different things for different purposes, but they are both valuable and important. And so I think that if we were able to treat others as more important than ourselves, there would be so much less pain, so much less destruction, war, disease, even, because we would be able to see the other person for who they are and be able to offer service so people wouldn't feel isolated, people wouldn't feel alone, they wouldn't feel ignored. I think there's a lot of things about the wounds of our hearts that could be healed if we were able to treat others as more important than ourselves. And that's not to devalue our own worth. I just want to clarify that. It's not devaluing who your value is. It is just saying that servant perspective is powerful, and I think we've forgotten that.
Okay, that was great answer. So Jennifer, we had only 1 minute left. So can you give up advice to my viewers?
Well, one of my favorite things to say is unsaid expectations are a recipe for unmet expectations. And that phrase was developed over a 7-year period with a really just wonderful friend of mine who lived with me and my husband for a long season where she was struggling with her own self-worth and things. And so it was, if you want this relationship with this person to work and you're feeling these things, but you don't feel like you can say it to him, well, then why are you collecting red flags, my friend? Like, if you can't communicate to him without fear of his reaction, then there's a disconnect there. Why are you doing this? Don't you know your value? So by understanding what she expected, she was able to communicate her expectations when she was able to get out of that relationship and meet her now husband. And so I saw how expectations for her were able to drastically change the health of her relationship because she was able to say what she wanted, say what she needed, and felt safe enough to do so. She's happily married for several years now, and her husband have a wonderful relationship, and it's not perfect, none is, but they have the tools because they know how to say their expectations. And so much hurt feelings happens when, well, they did this because of this. Well, you don't know that. You have no idea why, because you haven't asked them. You haven't had a conversation with them about it. You are assuming intentions without any real fact. So expectations are unsaid expectations or unmet expectations.
Okay, great, Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you for joining us today. It was a great to hear your inspiring journey and valuable thoughts. We truly appreciate your time and support. So, viewers, this was our interview with Jennifer. I hope you like it, and I hope you understand the story and inspiring story. So, viewers, this was our interview. Meet you in another interview with the new podcast and with the new interview. So, Allah Hafiz, Pakistan, Zindabad.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great one.